All right, the Iowa State Cyclones are coming off a fourth place finish at the 2024 NCAA Championships, and it looks like they're going to have another very tough squad coming back for the 24-25 season. They've got a couple transfers that have joined the rest of the team at Iowa State. We're going to get into their lineup, how good they can do, and can they be in the top four or even climb even higher next year. We'll get into all of that, including who I think is going to be their starters this coming year. So starting at 125, and one thing you'll see with a lot of Coach Dresser's lineups is that they love to have some competition in the room. They like to have multiple options, and this will be no different. 125, they've got a couple guys. You've got Perryman, Kadin Terina. Kadin Terina is their returning starter, but while his results on the mat have been pretty good, off the mat has been some issues. Coach Dresser has talked at length about Kadin staying out of trouble, staying out of legal hot water, and that's going to be key for Kadin this year. They also brought in a Cuban transfer, another one, Osmani Diverson, out of Cuba. And now, while his results are a little more under the radar, this is a guy with a win over Richie Figueroa in freestyle. So not someone that you can count out. And what we've seen is that Iowa State has been able to develop these Cuban guys. Anthony Echemendia, Younger Besida, both absolute studs for the Cyclones. So 125 is going to be contested. Kadin Terina looks like the starter on paper, but who knows? 133, Evan Frost coming off a sixth place finish as a freshman. And if you looked at Evan Frost's redshirt year the year before, there was not much indication that he was going to have this kind of a jump. Everyone knew Evan coming out of high school was going to be pretty tough. But the fact that he was able to place at a really tough weight, 133 as a freshman, just shows how much development he was able to get in 1 year. And so if you extend that to the next year, if he gets a little bit better, this is someone that could be wrestling for a top 3 finish potentially at 133 pounds. And it feels like that weight class is his, provided he can still make the weight. And it seems like all indications are that he can. Now 141 going to be a little different because Anthony Echemendia, he took one for the team. He went 141, but he said at NCAAs, I'm not doing that again. I cannot make 141 anymore. I'm moving up a weight class. I don't know how many, but I'm moving up. So that leaves a vacancy at 141, but I think Evan's brother, Jacob Frost, is likely the starter there, and similar expectations for him. Now, can he match what Echemendia did last year? That I'm a little more dubious of, but Frost definitely not someone you can count out at 141 for the Cyclones. Then 49, I think we do see Echemendia move up to this weight class. I think this has the fit and the synergy, although that would require redshirting Casey Swiderski, who's coming off of his strongest season yet. And I think that it makes sense to redshirt Casey, give him a year. You got to juggle some things because at 157, they've got a logjam as well. But I had to guess right now, redshirt Casey Swiderski, wrestle Anthony Echemendia at 149. That's a really tough first couple weight classes. Then we get to 157 where we're going to have the return, I believe, of Paniro Johnson. And we saw what he was able to do at trials this spring. He looks fantastic, and his talent is never been questioned. His ability to get to legs and score, his defense, this guy is the complete package. He had a great freshman season and fell a little short at NCAAs, didn't have his best tournament there. Now he was off the mat last year, but that's going to count as a red shirt. He's back, he's up a weight. I think that's going to help him with his conditioning, his ability to generate repeated scores. We saw him scoring a lot of points at trials. I think he's going to be able to do that this year, and bumping him up to 157 gives you a little flexibility with Cody Chidam, who also had a great true freshman year for the Cyclones. But he has a red shirt available. He could take next year and just redshirt and train freestyle or just get some folk style reps in, whatever he wanted to do. Or they may be tempted to bump him up to 165 because as I look at Iowa State's lineup, 165 is the biggest question mark unless Chidam can grow into it. Now Chidam looks like a guy who could potentially do it. Like he could get bigger and wrestle up at that weight class. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they'll decide. And I'm not sure what Cody will want to do. Part of me thinks this is a guy that's going to watch a really good Iowa State team take the mat. And is he going to want to sit and watch? I'm not sure. I think it makes sense. If he can get big and go 165, I think the Cyclones should absolutely consider that unless he really wants or the staff really wants him to redshirt, because 165 I think is going to be a troubled spot for Iowa State unless they get Chidam up there. But 174, they've got depth here again. You got MJ Gaitan. He's been the starter there. Could he come down to 165? It's been thought that he's a little small for 174. Could go down to 165. Would that make room for someone like Manny Rojas or someone else at 174? These are the questions. This is what Iowa State's got to figure out. I think if Gaitan is truly undersized at 174, I'd be excited to see what he could do at 65, because he's got a really exciting skill set. He's got good upper body stuff. His counters are good. He can wrestle from kind of all positions. And if 174 was a stretch for him, 165, I'd be excited to see what he could do there. So there could be an option in a weight change there for Iowa State. And then 174, maybe someone like Manny Rojas, who was a big recruit a couple years ago, hasn't had the results collegiately, hasn't had the opportunity to start, but he might be the guy manning 174. And then as you look at 184, this is the name I'm going to say is someone we thought was going to be there 197, Evan Bachmann. Multiple NCAA qualifier for Utah Valley. He hit the portal at the end of last year, transferred to Iowa State pretty early in the transfer window process. And it was thought, okay, they needed someone at 197, so Evan would go there. But with the transfer of Christian Carroll to 197, Bachmann's going to go down to 184, and he's someone who's competed as low as 174, I believe, in his career. So I don't think making 184 is a tremendous stretch for him. And I think it's great for Iowa State. If Bachmann can go 184, you get Carroll in the lineup seamlessly, you make a weaker spot a lot stronger with someone really experienced and someone who just wanted to go to a program with a lot of depth and a lot of energy. And I think Evan Bachmann has potential to jump up a notch. And they've had some, they had a transfer last year with Feldkamp, and now they have another one with Bachmann at 184. Excited to see what Bachmann can do, as he's going to be a contributor for the Cyclones at 84. 197, Christian Carroll, and the big question for Christian is not, can this guy wrestle? Everyone knows this guy can wrestle. It's, is he at 197? Is he a heavyweight? Is he one of the few guys where, like, if there was a 210 weight class, he'd be perfect for him? That's what we're trying to figure out. Because watching Christian Carroll at 213 in freestyle, he looked like a wrecking ball. This guy was unbelievable. Up at heavyweight last year, his results were not great. Now down at 197, that's the real test. How can he perform down at 197 pounds? That's the question. But that's where Iowa State really needs him. And I don't think he would be transferring to Iowa State if he didn't think, I'm going to be a successful 197 pounder. That's the weight class I want to compete at. Because they've got at heavyweight, Younger Bastida, who honestly was the biggest, I think I'd have to say the biggest surprise non-All-American last year. I mean, this dude was so good all year long. He won CKLV. He just basically beat everyone there was. They were talking about this guy as the national title favorite in some people's eyes. Some people thought this dude's going to beat Greg Kerpley. He's going to beat Wyatt Hendrickson, and he had beaten Wyatt. So that was the kind of energy and excitement around Younger. And then he had a broken finger, and it prevented him from wrestling to the best of his ability. He was pretty honest about that after NCAAs. But now he's back, and the potential for him, and this will be his final year, I believe, as a collegiate wrestler. So you got to assume he's going to want to go out with a bang. And so the question is, can this team get into the top three? Do they have enough title contenders, enough All-Americans, enough point scorers in this lineup to do it? I think that they do. I think Younger, I think Echemendia, I think Panero Johnson, those are three guys that can score really, really high. Evan Frost, that's a fourth. And then you've got some guys, they got a shot. Kyson Terrakina. What is Jacob Frost going to be able to do? What kind of production can they get out of MJ Gaitan? We've seen a lot of development at the Iowa State wrestling room. Can they take another step forward under Coach Kevin Dresser and get into that trophy contention? Now, I say trophy contention, but we all know deep down Iowa State won a trophy last year. The NCAA, for some reason, said fourth place is no longer worthy of a trophy, when for years and years and years, the top four got a trophy. They were fourth, but they didn't get a trophy. I think that's totally lame. But now the new trophy is top three. Can they get into that conversation? I think they've got a shot. A lot of things have to go right, but I think this is a team that could hoist a trophy, a top three finish next year at NCAAs.